This is HBR News number 525. Man assaulted by streamers, cons for Pr0ns, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello everybody and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host Brian. I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts Dr. Random McCam and Hannah Wallen. We have a great show lineup. Oh, what's up, Mike?
I said hello.
Oh, hello. Hello.
Yep. Yes, hello. Yep. Guten Tag. Bonjour.
We have a great show lineup for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. And this week's HBR News, we're going to be looking at, last week we covered the sexual assault of Twitch streamer Emiru, and we have a follow-up one that is even more interesting. And there are prison guards that are using convicts to make content for their OnlyFans and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for our patron-only show. So I was trying to find opinion pieces to look at, because usually those are good for patron-only show. I did not look up to see what Arwa Madawi was up to. I just couldn't be bothered. But I did get in something kind of interesting came across my desk. First of all, there was a really good Substack that's been making the rounds by a woman named Helen, I believe, Helen Smith. It's really straightforward. But she wrote a Substack, and she's been doing the rounds on the internet called The Great Feminization. And I thought it was pretty interesting. But also, there's a pretty big Gamergate YouTuber right now who has his own website called Smash JT. And he recently gave me a shout out on his channel and said he knew who I was and that he was a fan. So he must know about this channel because my channel doesn't get any views. So we might look at that. And once again, it just shows that Honey Badger Radio was basically like on the cutting edge of the culture war. So people who are talking about the culture war now that are trying to understand what's going on in it and so on, they're kind of like going to have to come across content like ours, if not our content. So
this channel is at least gaining subscribers, by the way. Unlike
yes.
Honey Badger
Radio,
we
are. We are. That's true.
Unlike my channel, which loses 30 subscribers every month and another 30 subscribers every time I publish a video. Badger Live Streams is gaining about 100 subscribers a month, which is about
Helen
normal.
Andrews, by the way, not Helen Smith. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, that's why you should all come to this channel and give it some love, because it hasn't been a line of code hasn't been added to an algorithm with regards to this channel as of yet. So please give it some love. It's the only channel in our empire that is on the up.
Now, if you can also smash that like button, it really helps us reach more people if you're able to. And for those of you guys who are following on Rumble, thank you for doing so, because we want to make Rumble the more viable platform, if at all possible. So shout out to the Rumble gang. Shout out to all of you guys for supporting us. And now we're going to get into...
And shout out to Helen Andrews for saying feminization when that's simply another word for feminism.
Well, she's not avoiding the topic of feminism, but she's taking it further.
Well,
so
in the title she is, and that's quite clever.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, you have to be careful, because what she's talking about is essentially that feminists run everything, and so you have to figure out how to get around it so you can talk, because otherwise they'll shut you down. But yeah, so we might look at this a bit in the Patreon show and other things. So if you want to join us for that, you have to become a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com and starting a monthly subscription. As I said, $5 a month will get you into our Discord. We'll be able to watch all of the additional content, and that includes patron shows and things of that nature. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, go to badgerfeed.com. That's Badgerfeed. No. Yeah, it is badgerfeed.com. That's where all of our content lives. All right. So now we get into today's stories. So let me get my write-ups here because I had to do them all, so it's fine though. So we have this Twitch streamer, Nina Lynn, pictured here, known as Nina Daddy is Back, I guess, and Zoe Spencer faced swift backlash in October last week when a May 2024 live stream clip resurfaced. So there was an older live stream that live stream that resurfaced in, I guess, surrounding all these things about Twitch, sexual harassment, and things like that. And it showed them restraining and twerking on FaZe Silky's assistant, Said, I don't know any of these people because I'm old, who appeared visibly uncomfortable and attempted to escape. In the video, Lynn holds Said down on a bed while instructing Spencer to do your shit, prompting accusations of on-stream sexual assault. So I actually have the video. So why don't we just look at it? Well, so I have here, this is a clip, it's about 2 minutes long, and this is the event, and then I'll read the rest of my write-up, okay? Let me know if you guys can hear this.
So what if he says, I feel like you did some shit wrong?
No, so the whole Saeed thing, no one essay Saeed. That's why today I was actually looking for Saeed. I was going to talk to him because he definitely felt disrespected as a person. Me, I take accountability what I do. If you dead ass felt disrespected, I didn't know. So you gotta let me know. If you did, I will always apologize. I mean, that's just normal people. But for him to walk around and say all that crazy shit, you never think about what Saeed's thinking too, though. Like, who wants to walk around being called that? That's embarrassing for him as a guy.
You ain't see Saeed today?
No, I'm looking for him. I was looking everywhere for him.
I just gotta patch that up.
I think he came out.
No, he was here. But I didn't see him at all. I saw him one time and he disappeared.
No, the moment I came over, he wasn't here.
Here it is. So you see this skinny kid, kind of nerdy. He's the one that these chicks are messing with.
Hey, come here. I got you. Hey, come here.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
23.
No.
He's consensual.
No, he's not consenting.
Yes, he is.
He's not even saying nothing.
Hold on. Can you pause it a second?
Oh, no.
I don't think he wants to.
Are you able to pause it?
Stay right there. Hold on. Sit down.
Yo.
Sit down.
You remind me of that one video.
Brian, pause it. Hannah's got a thing to say.
It's like my car. Oh
Why
my
you in the
God.
way, bro? Let us go out.
Like that actual video.
Why you?
No.
He runs out of the
block a
room.
nigga from getting ass. You
Bro,
weird.
he don't want it, bro.
He a cock blocker.
He did not tell you
He
that.
don't want it, bro.
Take all of this off. Take it off. Hey, yo, cut the cameras. Yo, cut the cameras, bro. Zo, do your shit. Look at my Louis Vuitton squad. Hold on, bitch. No outside clothes on the bed. Hold on. What's going on? Look at that bag. This is a nice bag. Hold on, this is a nice bag. Yo, how much this cost? Turn around.
They're trying to take his pants off now. All right, I'm gonna
Yeah,
stop it there.
Can you go back to the beginning?
Yeah, to the beginning of the video where she's talking.
The whole the beginning of not the beginning of the video, the beginning of the assault.
Oh,
Name's Saeed, by the way, just so you don't.
yeah, I
Go back to the
don't know,
beginning.
man. All right, here.
Oh my God. Saeed.
Is that the bit you want to
Right.
see?
Nope, the part where I asked you to pause it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you telling me that.
Yeah.
Right here.
A little more, just a little more. She's gonna say something.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Saeed. Come here.
Did I miss it
Keep
again?
going. Keep
I
going.
got you. Hey, come here.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
23.
No.
He's consensual.
Right there.
Yeah.
All right. Here's what she did. Okay. This guy is going, no. He is trying actively to get away from her. He's acting embarrassed. That's an embarrassed laugh. That's not an I'm having fun laugh. And you can tell. I can tell, and I'm autistic. That's not an I'm having fun laugh. And she says that because of his age, it's consensual.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when women talk about age of consent, they don't talk about it the way men talk about age of consent, right? When men talk about age of consent, they talk about it in terms of somebody cannot consent before a certain age, right? When women talk about age of consent, they're talking about it as I can assault this guy and it doesn't count because he's old enough. Women presume men's consent even when it's quite obvious that he's not consenting. This is what's wrong with the enthusiastic consent narrative. Men will get treated under a circumstance like that where a guy is actively saying no, 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 and a woman is embarrassing herself by engaging in an aggressive action as though they have done something wrong because they didn't ask the woman's permission and she didn't enthusiastically say yes. But they will not have their discomfort recognized. And women will go through actions like that all the way into the bedroom, all the way into trying actively while he's fighting back as best he can without injuring her, trying to take his clothes off.
Yeah.
And say he consented because he's not underage.
Right.
That is the gap in accountability for sexual conduct. A man is accountable for a woman's feelings about a sex act, even if she willingly engaged in it, even if she verbally said yes, even if she verbally agreed in other ways, and even if her physical actions demonstrated consent. But a woman's not even accountable for a man's feelings when he is actively trying to escape from her and later says he didn't want it.
Yep.
And don't think
And if he defended himself and he hurt her in the process, they would consider that to be him assaulting her.
Right.
But if a guy tried to do that to me, I could go so far as to rip his fucking balls off, and people would be like, well, he asked for it. He was assaulting you.
Yeah.
And don't think for a moment they wouldn't do this to a 13-year-old.
Right.
On the grounds that he would enjoy it. Because he's
There was
so
a thread,
because
Mike.
he's so young and unexperienced that he's obviously going to enjoy it. If he's
There was
old
a
enough,
thread on Twitter
he
of a
consents.
bunch of guys
If he's
saying
young enough, he
that was their
consents.
first experience. What
Yeah,
you just
well,
described, there was a thread on Twitter. Back in the Twitter days, there was a thread on Twitter of guys saying that was their first experience. And eventually it got deleted. But there were hundreds of guys commenting that what you just described was their first experience. I'll shut
let me
up now and let
finish.
you talk.
Let me finish the write up because I just want to show the clip and then tell you what happened afterwards. Okay, and more about let's say so Saeed, the guy who was assaulted in the video, who appeared visibly uncomfortable and attempted to escape. In the video, Lynn holds Saeed down on a bed while instructing Spencer to do your shit. Spencer was the other girl, the black girl, prompting accusations of on-screen sexual assault. Saeed later shared on X that he had voiced his discomfort multiple times before, but felt invalidated, reigniting public outrage as viewers highlighted double standards in content moderation. Twitch suspended both streamers' channels on October 24th, citing violations of community guidelines, with prominent figures like Asmongold decrying the literal video evidence of misconduct. Lynn, pictured here, Lynn, issued a public apology admitting her actions were really, really wrong and expressing regret for hurting Saeed, while Spencer remained silent. However, the bans proved short-lived. So basically it was just like a day. Their accounts were restored within a day or two, drawing criticism for Twitch's perceived leniency compared to longer suspensions for similar offenses by male creators. So
Wait, hold on a
I'm putting
second.
this in contrast to the
There
story
is one
from
more
last
thing
week.
I have to say about this. All right.
Yeah.
If the sexes were reversed, she would not have to report the crime to police for him to get charged for sexual assault. Just saying.
For sure.
He's clearly been sexually assaulted there. She would not have to go to police for him to get a charge, to catch a charge, if he did to her what she did to him. But you notice that there's not even a discussion about a criminal charge here, just a Twitch ban. That's another part of that gap.
So yeah, it's a little bit more serious than the attempted hugging and kissing we addressed last week, isn't it? And it wasn't just us. I knew about the Emiru story in advance because it was covered by several channels to whom I subscribe and listen, which for the most part, as you can imagine, is people who are ostensibly based, people who I expect not to get embroiled in the whirlwind of female victim mentality. But sure enough, within hours of the Emiru incident at TwitchCon, everyone was falling over each other, bemoaning the besmirched honor of some airheaded Twitch thought, whose bread and butter is titillating thirsty randos. And so, lo and behold, a thirsty rando thought he'd shoot his shot and attempt to hug and kiss Emiru. Outrage across the board. OMG, it's a sexual assault. Get me my smelling salts. Something must be done. Cut to this week when we find out about this Saeed chap, someone's personal assistant, a man who was absolutely not in the business of titillating anyone, gets pinned down and attacked with an anus. Yes, attacked with an anus. You can call it twerking when it's just hitting air, but when it's making contact with a person, it's hitting someone with an anus. Not punching, but definitely hitting to offer the Amber Heard quote unquote defense. Yeah, and to further invoke Ms. Heard, shitting in someone's bed isn't a million miles away from thrusting your anus onto someone. You may or may not consider it to be a serious sexual assault, but even if it is or isn't, it's certainly unsanitary. I mean, a man's lips can be unsanitary, sure, but it's surely a hell of a lot worse when it's a woman's anus. I put it to you. I don't put my woman's anus to you. I wouldn't do that. It would be rude at best, sexual assault at minimum, and chemical warfare at worst, depending on what's going on in the vicinity of the anus in question. And I wouldn't want to speculate what kind of diseases go on in the anus of the average Twitch thought, but I get a feeling it's less like a Japanese toilet and more like an Indian toilet, if you catch my drift. Yeah, and again, I have no intention of you catching my drift. That would be disgusting. And the icing on the shit cake is this incident happened 6 months ago. For six months, Twitch was sitting on this shit doing fuck off. Sorry. I'm not making these innuendos on purpose. They tend to appear spontaneously when you're talking about arse attacks.
Rising.
But yeah, not only did Twitch do nothing about this arse attack for 6 months, nobody else talked about it either. The supposedly based misogynists of the supposedly far right didn't care about it either. They're still not talking about it. It's apparently a total non-issue. I didn't even know about it until it appeared in the Honey Badger Discord last week, as is so often the case. So I suppose I'm not one to judge either. All I do is doom scroll through Twitter sometimes. I don't go looking for these stories. I have a small regiment of tenacious autistic news hounds to do it for me. But I think there's a reason everybody heard about the Emiru story immediately while this story remained in the shadows. It's because the mainstream left-wing media jumped on the Emiru thing instinctively. Why wouldn't they? It's an opportunity to paint a woman as a victim. And that's why the online right picked up on it instantly, because it's what the legacy left is talking about. The right makes a living watching the left like a hawk. That seems to be the pecking order. The left gets outraged about any possible feminist blood in the water, and then the right addresses that outrage. And that makes sense. The left is in charge of everything when it comes to the legacy media, and the right is trying to push back against it. And again, I'm not one to judge I'm at least one rung below all of that shit. I'm getting outraged about the outrage about the outrage. But I'm glad that the Honey Badger Brigade is here with its tenacious autistic news hounds. It seems to be the only place that picks up on the stories that don't even make it into the pipeline, having not been picked up by the leftist legacy media in the first place. Namely, the stories where a man has been the victim of something and or a woman has perpetrated something. And yes, that is what is entailed in most of the stories we're going to talk about tonight. It's not big, it's not popular, it's not even necessarily clever, but somebody's got to do it. Dr. Random McCann, Monted News, Honey Badger Radio.
So I got a question, actually. Was that guy wasn't a streamer that they assaulted, right? He was an assistant or something,
A
right?
personal assistant
Assistant
of
to
a
the
streamer.
streamer.
So
Yeah.
he was he a paid worker?
I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe.
something like that.
I mean, if he's a personal assistant, if he's a paid personal assistant, that's workplace harassment on top of being sexual assault.
Yeah, sure.
Like, again, this is you should be able to go to work and do your job without having to experience anything like this on the job. This is something that women have established, that this is inappropriate workplace behavior toward an employee. And it's not limited to just the employer. If a company interacts regularly with other companies and their employees are experiencing something like this from employees of the other company, there can be lawsuits. So this just got one step bigger. If it was a woman, there would be, and this was a paid woman who had to pay taxes on her employment and everything, like somebody who was getting money for the job. This was an on-the-job assault. There would be lawsuits. There would definitely be lawsuits. Women have established a right to cash in on this, because after something like this happens, it's hard to go back to the same workplace, and you often need therapy to get over it. And so you have expenses related to it. And also it's to punish the employer for allowing it to happen. So yeah, this is a woman engaging behavior that and treating it as ordinary behavior and nothing, inappropriate, no big deal. She's treating it, even, the idea of just apologizing publicly, like, oh, my actions were really, really wrong, I'm sorry. But in the moment, she had no, like, was she drunk or something, or was she sober? Because if she
I don't
did
know.
this,
I mean, they look drunk because of the way they're acting, but that could just be them just being ratchet.
yeah, if she did this drunk, she should never drink again. Because clearly she cannot prevent herself from engaging in criminal acts while drunk. But if she did this sober, that's even worse, because she knew fully, she was fully able to appraise her actions. She was clearly not too drunk to be the aggressor, right? But yeah, this is,
Well,
she should be criminally charged for this.
both of them.
And
There were
she
two women
should
involved.
be,
Two girls.
yeah, these two women should both be criminally charged for this, and they should both be sued for this. But neither of those things is likely to happen because they're female.
And
When you hear about the accountability gap, it's not just how women think, it's how the law treats them. But women won't be aware of the accountability gap because they don't take it seriously when women behave this way toward a guy at all.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? Twitch gave them what for? Banned them both for 24 hours. That'll show them never to
Eventually.
rape a man again.
Yeah, see, I care very little about what social media does in terms of if somebody does behave this inappropriately, okay, maybe they should be banned. It should happen the same to men and women. But getting banned from social media, as much as it sucks, it's nothing compared to a jail sentence. A man who did this wouldn't just get banned from some social media profile or some social media website. He would go to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. That's my point is I'm making a joke about the actual penalty, which is basically nothing.
Yeah.
A 24-hour
Yeah,
suspension on Twitch. That was basically the extent of what's happened. And the thing
Twitch
is
was
too,
definitely
one
biased
of the
here,
things worth pointing
but,
out is when the Emeru thing happened, people knew about it the moment it happened.
Yeah.
This is a live stream clip from May of 2024. So over a year ago. And it probably only resurfaced because of the Emeru thing. Someone may have come across and say, "Hey, wait a minute. Why wasn't this being talked about?" And then like put it up, you know? Because if you think about it, I guess in a way we have the Emeru clip to thank for this one resurfacing and getting more traction than it did originally.
There was
But if
one
it
we
weren't
looked
for
at a
that,
while
this wouldn't have
back.
happened. This is over a year old.
Yeah, there was one we looked at a while back that I thought of and didn't say anything at the time. It probably should have. Do you remember? God, I can't think of his name. He was a competitive gamer, and he won some sort of competition. This story is old enough that I cannot remember all the details. The only thing I remember was the meme that came out of it, because this chick that was a supporter of another gamer who didn't win came up and grabbed him by the shirt. And this guy, he kept his hands back, and he leaned away from her and just yelled for, whatever guy she was associated with to come get her. But the memes that came out of it because, he was really it was real slang, kind of like, "Who bitch is this?" or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But this kind of stuff happens to guys all the time, and people just expect them to take it in stride. They act like it's no big deal. Women can be very childish in terms of their boundaries towards guys, and can portray themselves as having a childlike innocence while engaging in all forms of assault on a guy. And
Right.
people will treat it like they'll ignore it. They won't notice that it happened. They won't care that it happened. And if you bring it up and you start talking about it, people will actually get upset that you dare compare it to, quote unquote, what women go through. And like, women will get more outraged at a guy who notices if a woman is half naked in public than they will at a woman who has done something like this, somebody who has groped, somebody who has grabbed a guy in a way that is aggressive, like the chick in the "Who bitch is this" meme. They'll get upset if you notice that behavior is inappropriate, and a guy would not be tolerated engaging in that behavior. Rather than recognizing that actually women get a lot of lenience and guys get a lot of flack for the most minor things.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, so like one last thing I'll say is and then I got a super chat here. And by the way, guys, send us some super chows if you want to. Just go to feedthebadger.com/just the tip, and we'll read your super chows on stream. So that's feedthebadger.com/just the tip. But anyway, I will read the super chat. But before I do that, remember, this generation of women, this youngest generation that's sexually active, is the rapiest in recorded history. So they're generally fearless and more aggressive sexually than any previous generation. And this usually expresses itself in the form of entitlement, which may have come from, like downstream of the sex positive feminist movement of the 60s, where you get, women that were allowed to be sexual, and then now you get women that are like aggressively sexual towards men just for fun too. It's really just like, not because they like those men or whatever, they just have something to prove. So, and yeah, so we're in uncharted territory. All right, anyway, Zeranx gives us $5. Thank you, Zeranx, and says, years ago, there was a Law & Order SVU episode where a man was assaulted by 3 women. They showed Stabler, the man, dismissed the situation. I guess Stabler is a character on the show that dismissed the situation, which that's usually, and I guess the women corrected him and said, no, rape can happen to men too. And it can, so he like learned something. And the thing is, I think that, yeah, this is just the way they frame things, but anyway. Thank you, Zeranx, for that. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Let's move on to the next story. All right, a significant shift in UK family
to that that last super chat.
Yeah.
Historically, the crime of rape was
described
in terms of only being perpetrated against female victims.
Historically, my ass.
But when feminists started changing the definitions of different sex crimes, they bent over backward to preserve it, and then claimed that they solved the problem by extending the terms describing other forms of sexual assault to men, but not rape. Just saying.
All right, I got another super chat while I was waiting, but Mike, did you want to say anything else to that or no?
Well, no, just historically, my ass, it's still the case in the UK that women can't be charged with rape no matter what they do to man.
Well, they can't be charged with rape here. They can be charged with like sexual.
It depends on the state, doesn't it?
Sexual assault.
If you charge a woman with rape here and they use a definition that feminists wrote, the lawyers now, based on a Supreme Court decision in Ohio, can argue that because she didn't penetrate the victim, it wasn't rape, and she can get off scot-free. So she will more likely get charged with other sexual assaults, other forms of sexual assault.
All right.
So feminists didn't do jack shit for men when they changed the definition. What they did was change it so that more men could be charged.
Yes.
That's it. That's all that they changed it to.
All right. So I got another super chat from Master Rogue 9780 for $5, and he says, I don't know why I got so many weird looks the other day. All I said was, do you guys take walk-ins? Maybe I shouldn't have gone to the morgue. And I got a super chow. Thank you, Meredith, for $5. And she says, HBR News number 525, honey for the badgers. Thank you. What is it? Why do you guys have like weird numbers next to your names now? Is that like some new thing YouTube did? It's like Meredith G7716. What is that?
Probably.
And anyway, let me know what you guys think about that story in the comments. All right, moving on to the next one. A significant shift in UK family law was announced on October 21st, repealing the presumption of parental involvement under the Children Act 1989 in England and Wales. Under the Children Act 1989 in England and Wales. Previously, courts assumed contact with both parents was in a child's best interest unless proven otherwise, often leading to unsafe arrangements for children exposed to domestic abuse. The change requires judges to evaluate each case individually, prioritizing evidence-based assessments of the child's safety, well-being, and voice over automatic parental access. This reform, stemming from a 2020 government harm panel report and recent findings on court failures, aims to prevent instances where abusers exploit the system for continued control, with implementation pending parliamentary time. Domestic abuse campaigners, survivors, and legal experts have welcomed the move as a victory for children and a step toward justice, though they stress it's not a complete fix. Figures like barrister Dr. Charlotte Proudman highlighted how it could save lives by curbing forced contact with abusers, while Women's Aid CEO Farah Nazir noted its reorientation of court priorities towards survivor safety. Campaigner Claire Throssell, whose sons were killed by their abusive father after court granted contact, expressed cautious hope for future protections. Experts, including Domestic Abuse Commissioner Dame Nicole Jacobs, call for mandatory judicial training to recognize abuse patterns and eliminate pro-contact biases, ensuring the reform truly safeguards vulnerable children.
Okay. Wait, wasn't the idea always about the safety of children above all else? It was framed as the best interests of the child, but what that means in practice is the mother gets custody because women are better than men. So surely the safety of children above all else also means in practice the mother gets custody because women are better than men. Seems kind of like painting over the military gray with ocean gray, or is it the other way around? We can't tell because they're exactly the same color, and that may seem like it's nothing and that it changes nothing, but the fact that it has a different name is all it takes for these corrupt identity politicians to now claim that they get to change everything else in a direction that always, without fail, favors women over men. Their modus operandi is reality is whatever we say it is. After all, we've decided that a man is a woman if and when we say so. Therefore, public toilets have no rules, sports tournaments have no rules, and prisons have no rules other than men will be rewarded when they disavow their masculinity. And it'll be the same shit here. We've changed best interests to safety. Therefore, a man will never get custody of his children unless he identifies as a woman. It'll be that. It'll be some stupid shit like that. We've called a thing a different thing. Therefore, we can call a bunch of other things. And every institution in the country has to gut itself and turn itself inside out based on these toothless linguistic shakeups on which we're insisting. Needless to say, we can still call ourselves the good guys, and you can't call us the bad guys, or else you're the bad guys. I mean, if Charlotte fucking Proudman is in favor of this, I don't know how much more evidence you need that it's a scam and a lie and a power grab. If The Guardian is talking about this like it's the best thing since sliced bread, I mean, for fuck's sake, there's your answer. I didn't read the Guardian article in question because they don't let you read their online articles unless you tick the accept cookies box or the reject and subscribe box. Those are the only two options. And that's the legacy media in a nutshell, isn't it? It's heads I win, tails you lose. If this so-called significant shift is supposed to change anything for the better, I will believe it when I see it. And I'm not going to see it because the family courts in the UK are still operating in secret, in mandatory secret, presumably for the sake of the safety and best interests of women, who, let's not forget, are better than men. If anything needs to change, it's that. You need to show us what happens in these fucking kangaroo courts. Or at least don't injunction everyone from even talking about it in any context. You need to show us these trials. Show us the women who beat their kids and alienate their fathers and still somehow get custody. We need to see it. We need to catalog how often it happens. But that's never going to happen because then the public would get to see how often this shit happens. And that would shatter the misandric, oikophobic narrative into 1,000 pieces. Or at least, so at least let people use the Freedom of Information Act to gain access to all this secret, sequestered information. Even if the people asking for this information under the Freedom of Information Act happen to be people who are skeptical of this misandric, oikophobic narrative. If we don't have transparency, we don't have freedom of speech. So yeah, give me transparency or give me death. Narrator's voice, he was given death. I hereby die.
All right, Hannah.
Interestingly, if a nation makes their statistics more public, like the United States did, you find out that the majority of children who have been subjected to maltreatment, they refer to all the various types of abuse, physical, sexual, and neglect, in one term, maltreatment, who have been fatally or terminally maltreated by one parent acting without the other, are killed by their mothers. 70% are killed by their mothers. Not their fathers, their mothers. But when you hear talk about how the courts should discriminate against parents universally by denying them equal custody on the basis of the possibility that a percentage, and we're talking about a fraction, tiny fraction of parents, that do this, but the majority of them are women. The courts are being admonished to discriminate against fathers. And this isn't one that can be like, I know a lot of people, oh, it's the stepfather, it's the step. No, there's a statistic for parent and other. And in the US statistics, stepfathers are counted as fathers and stepmothers are counted as mothers. So it's the female parent in all those cases. Now, maybe mostly stepmothers, I don't know. But it's not biological fathers. And that is the point. Only about 30% are killed by a father, whether it is the stepfather or the biological father. And the majority of abuse perpetrated is done to boys. The majority of abuse perpetrated by one parent acting without the other is done by mothers. The majority of abuse perpetrated in conjunction with another person that isn't the other parent is done by mothers. So we're talking all of the statistics. When you look at other areas outside the home where children get abused, it's most often in daycare, which is run by women. In fact, it's very hard for a guy to get a position as a daycare worker at all. And he's treated as suspect, not as an equal worker when he does get a job. So, again, the majority of perpetrators of child abuse are women. The majority of killers of children are women. And that is not counting the 3 in 10 pregnancies that is in the world that is terminated by elective abortion. Because if you counted that, the leading cause of human death in the world is abortion, is being aborted, being killed by your mother, in other words, before you're born. So this idea that men are dangerous to children and women are not, it's utter bullshit. Absolute utter bullshit. And the courts favoring mothers on the idea that mothers are safer than fathers are going to kill children.
All right. Well, thank you for those thoughts on that story. And yeah, I agree. Transparency is what we need. When you hear Charlotte Proudman, red sirens should be going off for sure. All right,
Oh,
I got
yeah.
a super chow from Zeranx for $10. And he says, the idea that the current gen is downstream of the sex positive types gives them an out. Look at Simone de Beauvoir's history with girls. Consider Eve Ensler's Good Rape. The current teachers are no different from Mary Kay Letourneau. Remember the stories of men wearing kilts and women trying to see if they're wearing them authentically? They're not new. We're just noticing more now than we're allowed ourselves to in the past. Well, I'm not saying it never happened. I'm saying that there's a certain level of, because then the data, like I said, bears out that at least for as long as we've been recording it, this generation of women, the Generation Z, the Zoomer women, are the rapiest in recorded history, which means they're maybe we are changing the way we measure these things. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm saying the scale and perhaps the brazenness to which it happens is a lot worse than it was. And I think that
part
is
of it.
Mm,
I think part of it is that we're noticing, and part of it is that feminists have taught women to be entitled.
yeah.
In our day, like graduating high school, going to college, women's studies was a class, not a some colleges may have made it a department, and there may
Major.
have been women's studies 101, 202, 303, and so on. 404 graduation not found, but you didn't major in women's studies very often, and there was no interdisciplinary studies, and there wasn't a women's studies infection in every area of academia, including medicine and business. But there is now. You can't take a course of study that is touched by any area of psychology, whether it is how to sell things to people, how to help people medically, how to counsel people, anything like that, or any area of the soft sciences, social sciences, in any way, without a feminism infection in your curriculum. And among the things that feminism teaches is that it is not the same for a woman to victimize a man, or a girl to victimize a boy, or a woman to victimize a boy, as it is the gender reverse. And so you have this sense of entitlement. You have, and they do push this dual, they're sex positive toward women and sex negative toward men. Men's sexuality is aggressive, dirty, taking, damaging, harmful, blah, blah, blah. Women's sexuality is giving, helpful, it's passive, blah, blah, blah. And so if a woman engages in any kind of sexual behavior, it's supposedly good, it's her right, she's entitled. You're slut shaming her if you criticize what she did, even if she's trampling someone else's boundaries, even if she's engaging in something a man would go to jail for, even if she's not welcome to engage in it, even if she's hurting somebody, right? But if a guy engages in sexual behavior, even if it's at the behest of the woman that he was engaging with, they treat that as either, he got away with something, or he's guilty of something. And as a result, you do see more women, more girls, young women and girls, engaging in behaviors that they think are playful and they think are cute and they think they're entitled to engage in. And you can't criticize them because you're slut shaming them, right? Where, in previous generations, we would have recognized that you were trampling on someone else's boundaries, and you don't have a right to do that because you have a right to expect someone not to do it to you. And that means other people have a right to expect you not to do it to them. That's been overwritten by feminism where girls are concerned. And it takes parents teaching their daughters in particular fathers teaching their daughters that no, if you have a right to expect other people to not do it to you, then they have a right to expect you to not do it to them. For girls to understand that. But unfortunately, over the last 50 years, there has been a systematic removal of fathers from the home. And so who's teaching them? Their mothers. They're sexually entitled single mothers. So of course they're
Yep.
going to be more rapey.
All right, thank you for the super chow, Zaranx. All right, let us move on to the next story. This one is wild. So, pictured here is Linda D'Souza Abreu, a former prison officer at HMP Wandsworth. This is in the UK. That's why it sounds like a wizard's town. In Wandsworth, was jailed for 15 months in early 2024 after pleading guilty to misconduct in public office for engaging in sexual activity with an inmate in June of 2023. The incident of this crime, this misconduct crime, and captured on video by another prisoner and shared widely online, showed D'Souza Abreu, who ran an OnlyFans account under a pseudonym, promoting herself as a sexy Latina swinger, performing sex acts in her work uniform before full intercourse. She claimed that she acted under duress, fearing assault if she resisted, but the judge rejected this, highlighting how the viral footage undermined prison discipline and endangered colleagues. She didn't look like she was resisting. The scandal exposed vetting gaps as her explicit content evaded initial checks due to the alias. So, just to reiterate, this woman, Linda D'Souza Abreu, she's a prison guard, and she has an OnlyFans account, and she made a pornographic movie with inmates of the prison that she guards. Okay? So, despite the high-profile case...
Wandsworth is in London, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Wandsworth.
Out in the sticks, it's a borough of
okay.
London.
It's like a neighborhood in London.
It's where there happens to be a huge prison, and that's where she was
that makes sense.
Yeah. Borough in the UK is similar to county in the US.
Yeah.
No, it's like boroughs. Like in New York, you have the 5 boroughs. In London, we have the 32 boroughs. They're just smaller. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Neighborhoods.
Despite this being a high-profile case, prison officers remain permitted to operate OnlyFans accounts, with the prison service clarifying that the platform hosts non-pornographic content from various creators and does not automatically bar applicants. Officials have since bolstered procedures to detect pseudonyms and reject unsuitable candidates, but no outright ban has been imposed. Critics point to the risks of such activities compromising professional integrity, while the service maintains high standards without prohibiting personal side hustles outright, fueling debate over boundaries between private online expression and public sector roles. So...
Wait, they're not talking about the fact that these are
prison inmates that she made pornographic movies with.
Well, no. Prison inmates over whom she
has authority.
Yeah,
right?
you know
it's not just an unprofessional thing here. We're right back to the issue of if a man did this, all right? If this was a women's prison and a male guard did this, there would be a whole discussion going on in the public about this is a man in a position of authority, and these women would have been afraid to say no. These women would have faced potential repercussions for saying no because this is a man in a position of authority. But in this situation, she is in the position of authority, and these are men who are under her authority. And it's not just authority to hire and fire. They can't leave. They're in jail. They're in a cage. All right. And their whole building is a cage. So they're in a cage within a cage. And she has the ability to write them up for infractions that she doesn't have to prove they did it. All she has to do is indicate that they were unruly in some way or another. And if they get in trouble like that, they lose rights in prison that are considered to be privileges, things that you get to do anytime that you want, like go shopping, That they have a internal, I think it's called a canteen, an internal place where they can get items like deodorant and cigarettes and stuff like that, and things that they use as an internal currency in the prison. And if they've traded favors with somebody and they owe some of that currency and they can't get it because she's written them up for an infraction, they get their shit beaten out of them by other prisoners. So this is a situation where there is a physical threat if these men tell her no. They cannot be considered eligible to consent to this. And she involved them in it. This is sexual exploitation. This is no different than sexual exploitation of students or patients suffering from dementia or intellectually disabled adults under your care. They can't be considered fully capable of telling her no. Not because they can't appraise their actions, but because they can face penalties for telling her no, and they know it. And it doesn't matter whether she threatened them or not. Her authority represents a threat. That is the standard that women have set for men. That if a man in authority does something like this, that the women can't be considered capable of consent. So because of that, again, this is a situation where, we're talking about whether or not this woman gets fired. She should be in jail. This is a woman who should be arrested and prosecuted because she has done something that feminists have deemed that men get charged for rape for doing. And she's getting away with it. If all she's getting is fired or publicly embarrassed, she's essentially getting away with what, because of feminists, could be prosecuted as rape if a man did it.
Yeah, she's pleading to misconduct in a public office. So I don't know how serious that she's basically pleaded guilty to misconduct in public office. Probably not that serious.
She didn't initially plead guilty. She pleaded duress. You know how
she initially pleaded duress, which makes it even worse. Like, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
And again, you're in a position of authority. You're the one who could put the kibosh to the whole thing. In fact, this is something she should have blown the whistle on, not participated in. But I'm going to go right back to a misdemeanor is still getting away with it in that instance. Can you imagine when Brock Turner got 6 months for sexual assault instead of years for rape when he and a gal
got
were
drunk
going
together.
back to got drunk together and were going back to his dorm together to have sex, and started in an alley, and then she passed out. And feminists showed up in my area because he came back to a community in the Dayton metro area. Feminists came here with guns capable of shooting through brick and mortar and patrolled the streets outside of his neighborhood, which means they protested with these guns in a neighborhood where other families lived and had kids. And they don't know if, those people wanted those guns in their neighborhood. They didn't know if those people wanted guns on the street in their neighborhood. They didn't know if they were setting off, alarm bells for gang activity in that neighborhood or anything. They just knew that they were protesting this guy not getting a heavy enough sentence. And that was in a situation where the victim, according to the court, was older than him, had graduated university, and had gone to the party, partied with him all night. And again, they're not going back to the dorm room to play Tiddlywinks, right? They're not going back to play Parcheesi, Monopoly, right? They're going back to play hide the salami. And but according to the law, since she passed out during it was a rape. And they didn't agree with the sentence, right? So this chick, like in my opinion, what she's pleading guilty to is nothing compared to what would happen if she was a dude.
Yep, 100%.
You know how I said earlier about how prisons have no rules, just like sports tournaments have no rules and whatnot. What with identity politicians scrambling our language with their arbitrary identity politics. Well, it doesn't just apply to the inmates who like to pretend they're women. It applies to the screws, the prison officers, in the event that they are females. If the inmates identify as women, they can go wherever they like within the prison system. And if the screws identify as women, they can do whatever they like within the prison system. Like, I don't even care about the OnlyFans thing. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with having a side job where you can earn some extra coin and maybe eventually earn enough to quit your day job. That's fine. Even if your side job is a bit dodgy. I mean, online prostitution is arguably more than a bit dodgy. Prostitution is a crime. It's only a legal loophole that it doesn't count as a crime as long as no bodies are touching each other. Whatever, you've gamed the system. Best of luck to you. My issue lies in this laughable notion that a prison officer acted under duress from a prisoner, as we've already covered. I'm sorry, what? In what world, if you please, can that happen? Under duress means that in one way or another you are, or you were, unable to escape the situation. Do I need to repeat that for those of you in the back row of Upside Down Land? Do I need to repeat that? The jailer was unable to escape the jailed. How in the electric blue fuck does that even happen? How can it happen? I suppose if the jailer is a small child and the jailed is a fully grown prison sculpted adult, yeah, all right, I can see how that can happen. And that's why we don't put children in charge of jailing adults. No kind of Stanford prison experiment is going to shift that balance, no matter what kind of weapon you give to the children. For the same reason, you probably shouldn't put 100-pound soaking wet women in charge of prison sculpted monsters. You shouldn't even put paunchy, wheezy, out of shape men in charge of prison sculpted monsters. You'll just be feeding lambs to the lions. Maybe the screws should be subject to physical qualifiers, just like firefighters and police officers are supposed to be given in the absence of DEI. Maybe Pete Hegseth should get involved. Like, get on the ground, give me 50 at a moment's notice, or you can't be trusted to control a bunch of hench psychopaths who have nothing to lose. Yes? No, and I'm not for a moment suggesting that this woman was actually overpowered in any way or was actually under duress as she initially testified. I think she was indulging in this fetish that so many women have for violent criminals. You all know the meme, random man, women bored and uninterested and drier than the Gobi Desert. Whereas random man, serial killer, women lose their shit and get wetter than an otter's pocket. And I imagine it's the same for lesbians. In the event that they're attracted to women, they're just as likely to be attracted to criminally violent women. Yeah, it seems unfathomable to so many people, but yes, it's complicated. Women are complicated. They want to be with someone who is capable of anything up to and including acts of extreme violence, but someone who does not exact that violence on her, on the woman with the fetish. And that archetype is perfectly encapsulated in the prisoner. situation, one who is capable of whatever it was that landed them in prison, but situationally incapable of enacting that violence on her, the gatekeeper of that prisoner's freedom. Hashtag not all, blah, blah. This is a fetish that in extremis only affects probably a minority of women, hopefully just a minority of women. But it's a large enough minority to make it very important that women are vetted thoroughly in the event that they want to become prison guards. And what should be controlled for, above all else, is any possibility that a woman thinks she can get away with claiming duress as a defense against raping prisoners. And yes, it is rape. It is prison rape, no less, when the woman is in complete control of any and all applicable freedom. It is prison rape. She is the one applying the duress. If she can even entertain the notion that she can Darvo that shit and get away with it, just slip into upside down land and act like the rape victim is the rapist, she should never, under any circumstances, be permitted to hold that position of authority. And alas, we live in a society. Yes, we do. We live in a society where an alarming amount of women think they can do that and get away with it. And it's very probably because so many of them can do that shit and get away with it. This is just the story of a woman who didn't get away with it. We almost certainly never hear about the women who did get away with it because their victims are already prisoners. They don't have all that much legal protection. The only legal protection they can possibly have comes in the form of video evidence. Video evidence beyond reasonable doubt. Video evidence that is not simply ignored or destroyed. That appears to be what swung the verdict in this case. And that's what makes it such an anomaly that has brought it to our attention in the first place. So yeah, in conclusion, maybe don't put women in charge of prisoners. Not male prisoners, not female prisoners, not miscellaneous prisoners. At least like put a hold on this shit until we can figure out what's going on. Spoiler alert, what's going on is the society we live in is one in which women have been taught to do whatever they like, to indulge in whatever fantasies they like, sexual or otherwise, and they will do so. Like, first, we need to stop DEIing women into these grossly inappropriate positions of power. Then we need to overhaul this society we live in and deprogram these women from this insatiable victim mentality. And then maybe we can reintroduce women into these roles of power once they are no longer, by and large, warped and twisted and fucked up beyond all recognition into this psychotic victim mentality. It's going to be a long haul, ladies and gentlemen, because we're dealing with at least 4 generations of this bullshit, of this teaching women to be victims and nothing else, no matter what they do. Maybe it will take another 4 generations before we can get back to normal. But at least I can draw it there. At least I can perceive of an exit plan of roughly 4 generations. We won't get there in my lifetime, but at least I can conceive of when we can, in theory, get back to where we want to be. That is far more than the feminists ever gave us. Feminists have no exit plan whatsoever. They will keep going. Not for 4 generations, not for 8 generations, not for 256 generations, but forever, until all positions of power are held by women, or men who have, or men who have disavowed their masculinity, or indeed until the human race is extinct, which will probably come first. Best of luck, everyone, and Godspeed. Sorry, I'm supposed to be dead. Yeah, I'm dead. Yeah, sorry.
Ignore me.
Ignore me!
By the way, just so you know, this starts in juvie. What this woman has done, she did with adults, but when juvenile detention inmates in the U.S. were surveyed, approximately 58 to 60% of sexual misconduct that they reported being victimized by, they reported staff perpetrators, not other inmates. And approximately 95% of that was perpetrated by women alone, and another 2 to 3% was perpetrated by groups of adults that included women. So women were involved in between 95 and 98% of the majority of incidents of sexual victimization. And these were minors. These are boys, not men, that are reporting this. Mostly minority boys, and it goes as young as 10 years old.
Yep. Well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Yeah, let's move on to the last story. So, pictured here is Sean McMaster. And a federal jury has just awarded former Detroit police officer Sean McMaster $58.4 million this month after dismissing charges of sexually assaulting his young daughter, which stemmed from a 2019 prosecution by Michigan Attorney General Diane Nessel amid a bitter custody dispute with his ex-wife, Joanna McMaster. The allegations surfaced during parenting visits in Michigan, but a 2016 recording revealed Joanna offering to halt a criminal probe in exchange for McMaster terminating his parental rights. McMaster, who maintained his innocence, endured 151 days in solitary confinement in Oakland County Jail before charges were dropped following scrutiny from the 7 investigators, which highlighted investigative flaws, including omitted exculpatory evidence like a therapist's report of the child admitting to lying and no medical confirmation of abuse. McMaster's 2021 civil lawsuit targeted Michigan State Police Trooper David Busacca and a former Assistant Attorney General Brian Kolodjej for constitutional violations, malicious prosecution, and excessive pre-trial punishment. U.S. District Judge Stephen J. Murphy III ruled that there was no probable cause for warrants, citing Busacca's omissions and Kolodjej's probe allegedly motivated by a personal relationship tied to the ex-wife. Kolodjej later resigned and was disbarred for unrelated misconduct. After a 3-week trial, the jury deliberated for a day and a half before massive award, which McMaster's attorney said compensated for lost job, reputation, and family ties. Despite the findings, Busacca was promoted to lieutenant, sparking criticism over accountability in law enforcement and prosecutorial oversight. So, there was a bitter divorce, apparently, and child custody hearings were going on, and his ex-wife accused him of sexually assaulting his daughter, which apparently went through, and it resulted in him, McMaster here, enduring 151 days in solitary confinement, and it was all done just so that she can get access. But he, I guess the case was turned over. It was found that he was innocent, and that the wife was trying to essentially, pressure him into giving her full custody in exchange for his freedom, and he didn't take it. So anyway, what do you guys think?
This is the kind of case that actually got me started with the online portion of the men's rights movement. One of my earlier articles for A Voice for Men is titled 7 Years in Hell. And fortunately, in that case, the attorney was prepared for things like this. Unfortunately, the reason is because this use of false allegations of uh, abuse of various types is frequently used by women in divorce cases to try to leverage the court in custody battles. It's one of the reasons why it is not a good idea for the courts to have as their default the idea that maternal custody should be presumed, and men should have to prove that they're a good parent in order to continue parenting their child after a divorce, because women then turn around and say, well, he abuses the child, he engages in sexual assault and so on, and these allegations often are not criminally vetted at all, and they don't have to be in order for them to be used in a custody battle. And the only way to fix this, the only thing that will put a stop to this, is when it is proved in court that the allegation itself is a lie, and the mother using that allegation in court to try to obtain custody knew when she leveled the allegation that it was a lie. That should result in prosecution of the mother, and depending on what the victim suffered, it should be commensurate with the type of crime that would cause a violent crime victim to suffer the same thing. So in this case, he was kidnapped violently by armed kidnappers, and he was held against his will. So he was prevented from leaving the area where he was left. He was tortured, because solitary confinement is torture. So this should go back on her for hiring hitmen to kidnap, incarcerate, falsely, wrongly imprison, and torture her ex-husband. That should be the equivalent of what she's prosecuted for, and she should go to jail for the amount of time that a man would go to jail for if he kidnapped, wrongly imprisoned, and tortured a woman for that period of time. That is the only type of accountability that will stop women from doing this. In the 7 Years in Hell case, this continued with allegations as serious as rape that were demonstrably false. In fact, the accuser couldn't find a time in the life of the accused when he couldn't account for his whereabouts, because the rest of us that were friends with him were dividing our visitation time with him, like our time hanging out with him, so that there was no point in time when he didn't have a witness that could say where he actually was and what he was actually doing. He stayed on camera as much as he could. He kept receipts from every place that he went. He documented his whereabouts extensively in order to ensure that she could not do this to him, because the situation had already gotten that bad by the time that she made that allegation. The most bizarre and minor allegation that the 7 years accuser made was a drive-by greeting that never happened. She had a restraining order on him, and she claimed he drove past a location where she shouldn't have been able to say she was, because she was claiming to another judge that she was going to be out of state for 2 weeks, and claimed that he waved menacingly, which I'm not sure exactly what that entails, like a one finger wave or what, but it never happened. It wouldn't matter. So this type of thing, like, I've had a lot of experience with this. Women get false restraining orders. They then use the restraining order as a launch pad for a false allegation. A lot of times they'll try to make an allegation that can't be disproved. Well, I was here and he showed up and he didn't leave, or I got a crank call from him, or a number of other things. They'll show up in his workplace and get him arrested. They'll go into his neighborhood, and then if he goes outside, he gets arrested. Just all kinds of things like that. And it's all to leverage false allegations in custody battles. And so this instance, it happened to an officer. And because he was an officer, they kept him in solitary confinement, because if they didn't, he's an officer in the prison system, he's going to get killed, right? And so they use that as an excuse to keep him in solitary, and that's torture. But this case is by far not rare. The other thing is, after the 7 years, the accuser in the 7 years case was deemed a vexatious litigant. There was a lawsuit in which the accused only sued her. He didn't sue everybody that he could have sued. He only sued her for vexatious litigation and malicious prosecution. And all he sued for, he didn't sue for money. All he sued for was for her to be deemed a vexatious litigant and to not be able to make any more allegations. That's the only thing that stopped it in his case. But it won't stop other women from doing it. And the first thing that I saw happen after that was a bunch of feminist articles came out about how to counter those types of lawsuits. So, yeah, the accuser herself needs to face jail time in situations like this. And it is important for collaborating law enforcement and prosecutors to face repercussions as well. But it's only fair if they face those repercussions if their actions aren't dictated by law. And unfortunately, in the United States, the Violence Against Women Act does dictate their actions. So that would have to be changed. But it wouldn't have to be changed at all in order to prosecute false accusers. False accusation is a violent crime. When you falsely accuse somebody of a crime for which they will be arrested, you are hiring thugs to go to that person's place of residence or their workplace, wherever they can be found, and violently kidnap them and wrongfully imprison them and subject them to, at the very minimum, hours worth of psychological torture, possibly days, possibly years. It is not a peaceful crime. It is not a minor crime. It is a violent crime, and it should be treated as such.
Well said. Thank you. Mike, did you want to say anything about this?
I didn't write anything down, but yeah, the swamp of lies is so difficult to legislate. Because if you give the government the opportunity to legislate on lies, then I mean, all the government does is lie, and all they do is uphold these lies based on whatever the status quo happens to be. And again, we live in a society. We live in a society in which lies told by women are truth, and truths told by men are lies, and it's fucked up. I don't know how to fix this, and I don't know if it's going to get fixed in any of our lifetimes. So, yeah, again, I didn't have time to write anything up about this because of daylight savings time. I'm currently an hour.
Yeah, I guess it's affecting you
all.
guys. Like for us, it doesn't happen until like Sunday.
Yeah, we're in that 1 week where I'm an hour behind y'all. So and that caught me off guard, so I couldn't think of anything to say. But you'll know what I have to say by what I said about the last 3 stories.
Yeah.
It's fucking men get fucked in every opportunity, and women get pedestalized by their victimhood at every opportunity. So yeah, just stop doing that. Just fucking stop doing that, folks. Welcome to Honey Badger Radio. This is the message we send you at every opportunity. And I know no one's listening except the already converted or already deprogrammed, should I say? But
Yeah.
this like. Good luck sending all the immigrants away. Good luck undoing all of the trans bullshit. But once you've done that, we still have this. We still
Yeah.
have we still have the head vampire to deal with. So please, for the love of all of your gods, can we deal with this first?
Yeah.
Good idea.
The more that we cover stories like the ones we did tonight, with a complete lack of female accountability, the more I look at history, and in some countries, the current situation of coverture and guardianship, and wonder if those systems were maybe put in place because this is how women behave when those systems are not in place. That they're completely unaccountable, that they fight for unequal treatment, for unequal lenience toward women who behave as sexual predators and as false accusers and violent criminals and so on. Like, no wonder men felt like they had to be, if they're going to be the shield between women and the state, they also have to be in charge, and they have to be women's chaperones. Like, if women can't be adult enough to take accountability for their own actions, and that includes the consequences other people face from their actions, then women shouldn't have the right to make their own choices, just the same as teenagers. Like, I hate to say that, especially being female, being, a co-breadwinner in my family, and being someone who has worked very hard to be better than that. And I value my freedom of choice. But if this is what happens when women have that freedom of choice, I'd rather live under a system like what Islam does to women, knowing that at least men would be protected from this shit, and this wouldn't be happening, than have that freedom of choice. Man, this is insane that half the population can behave this way and get away with it and not face any repercussions, and society doesn't even think anything needs to be done about it, because the other half of the population is treated like they're just disposable. That has to stop.
Needless to
Either-
say, the Islamic situation would not fix this either. Islam
that's the thing. Either
is the
we have to
end
go back to
product of
something like
feminism.
Either we have to go back to something like that. Either we have to go back to something like coverture.
No, we have to
Or
go
we
forward.
have to start teaching women to be as accountable for the consequences of their choices as we expect men to be. Those are our only two choices going forward. If we go a different direction than one of those two choices, the world ends. All right. We are already in a situation where, again, 3 in 10 is almost a third, right? Almost a third of pregnancies in the world ends in elective abortion. The leading cause of human death in the world is being aborted, being killed by your mother.
Yeah,
we are in a situation where false allegations are common and they're getting denied. We are in a situation where men are being subjected to levels of abuse that cause them to commit suicide. just because they want to parent their children, and then they're getting called deadbeats because the mother won't allow them to see their child. We're in a situation where women can be in charge and still claim to be victims of things that they did to other people. If we don't change that, we're going to be in a situation where the world just goes down the toilet. Humanity will be an extinct species. Nature will heal because we'll be gone. So if we don't fix this, and the women can learn to be accountable, and men can stop tolerating unaccountability, and that's what has to happen. Because otherwise, like I said, we have to go back to something like coverture or guardianship. Maybe women will figure out that they can't act like this if that happens again. I hate to call for that. I'd rather see women be accountable, but it's got to be one or the other. It can't be wavering between the two for all of eternity, because we don't have that long.
Yeah, I'm not going to concede to this idea that we have to go backwards to something, because we would be going backwards to something that never really existed. We need to go forwards to something, and this is why what we talk about is something that the right and the left can't conceive of, neither the right nor the left, because we're talking about going forward to something that has never really been achieved at any point in history, and it's men and women having equal rights under the law. Now, I know that sounds leftist because it involves equality, and I know it sounds rightist because it involves law and order. But we're at a point that's historically has never been predicted. We're at an absolutely mad time in history, where technocracy is and democracy have skewed us out of all recognition. And a lot of people like to say that progression is giving women rights. And if you go back as far as ancient Greek times, you could say that they got so far in the first place because men were given so many more rights than women. And yeah, those things are both historically conceivable, but like the world has changed so much in the past 100 years, in the past 200 years, and indeed in the past 1,000 years since romantic chivalry. Let's not forget that the world hasn't been changing since the advent of feminism. Feminism's only been around for 100 years, but romantic chivalry has been around.
250 years.
The romantic chivalry has been around for 1,000 years at least, and until we can get our heads around that, we're not going to be able to fix the problem that we in the manosphere are all talking about. We all in the manosphere. There's a whole different parts of the manosphere: red pills and PUAs and MRAs and MGTOWs and such. But yeah, no, it's that's what makes it so difficult to find the right answer, and the right answer is not regressive or progressive. It's just looking at men and women and the fact that they are different, but there are many ways in that they should not be treated differently among the law, and then we have to address what the law even is, and how we've been going wrong with our approach to the law, and that's where we get into the subject of democracy and whether that was even a good idea in the first place. And that's there's this can splinter off into all manner of things, and yeah, sorry, there's no one easy solution, but we can't let our left-wing opponents describe what progressivism means, because it's not progressivism, it's just left-wingism. Nor can we prescribe everything that our right-wing opponents consider to be traditionalism, because traditionalism is it's I mean, romantic chivalry has been around for so long that it's made feminism a part of our tradition, and we need
Well,
to be like, no, no,
there is one thing
Wait,
because
wait,
I'm gonna
just
interrupt to say
just
here.
because it looks
let's-
traditional doesn't mean
This
it
is
is
something that's
traditional.
very important to understand, right? The cure for unaccountability in women is for girls to be raised by their fathers.
Yes.
Even if their mothers are part of that, even if mother and father in conjunction with each other, they cannot be raised without their fathers. And while in the overwhelming majority of men's issues, there's very little difference between left and right. There is a stark difference here between left and right. We can appeal to traditionalists on this. Traditionalism includes the understanding that a family is two parents and their children, not one parent and their children, and that it should be only the worst of extenuating circumstances. Somebody dies, somebody genuinely is abusive, somebody is forced to go into rehab because of drugs, or their mental health is so bad they have to be institutionalized or separated from their family. Aside from that, that it should be both parents and their children. We can appeal to that understanding that fathers should not be excluded from their children's lives. And we have to. It is vital to the future of the entire human race that the men's movement recognize that appealing to government officials that are on the right side of the aisle, to ensure that fathers are not going to be removed from their children's lives, is a way to get equally shared parenting, a way to get accountability put back into the divorce system for women, and a way to reduce divorce and reduce single parenting. And this is, even unmarried fathers should have equal custody rights as just as much as the mother does, as long as they are able to prove they are the father of the child. And we should be writing to politicians. We should be influencing the public through comments on social media and news articles. It is absolutely vital. This is the biggest push that should be happening in the entire men's rights movement, that fathers must not be excluded by outside forces from their children's lives. If he chooses to abandon, that's on him. But most of the time, it's not him choosing to abandon. It's she doesn't think that he needs to be there and she doesn't let him in. Or the state doesn't think that he needs to be there and the state doesn't award him custody. That is what needs to happen. And you can't appeal to the left with that because they are anti-family. You can only appeal to the right with that. You appeal to what works. And if you think that you can split families up and have the children benefit from it, you need to do some research, because that is not the case. So fathers' rights, out of everything that the men's rights movement does, fathers' rights are probably fundamentally the most important thing that we can support. And we need to step that up beyond everything else.
Amen.
And then fathers need to teach their girls to be just as accountable as they are teaching their boys to be. And without that, we don't have a way forward.
Join us on the uphill struggle, ladies and gentlemen. Let us not be Sisyphus on our way up that hill.
Yeah.
All right, take us
We're
out,
going to go
Brian.
into the patron show now, and we're going to continue this conversation there. So if you guys want to join us, go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe to become a member. $5 a month will get you into the Discord, where you'll be able to watch all the additional content, and you will make us happy. So yeah, go to feed. It'll help us out. It'll make it easier for us to keep doing this work, and we welcome the company in our Discord server. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, again, that's badgerfeed.com for that. I don't know why I said that again. But anyway, yeah, so thanks guys for coming on the stream. Thank you to Mike and Hannah for helping me out. If you guys like this video, oh, I got another super chow. That's right. Richard Beer gave us 5 and said, "What do you get for the woman who has everything? Penicillin." Thank you.
Penicillin
right.
doesn't cure that much anymore. A lot of stuff is antibiotic. You know, there's antibiotic resistant gonorrhea now. Body count matters.
Oh God, yeah, right. If you don't want to make super gonorrhea, super
No,
chlamydia, maybe.
Well, what's really scary is syphilis is a bacteria. It's not a virus. So if it becomes
Yeah.
antibiotic resistant, we are fucked.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Body count
So-
matters a lot. It's a hygienic issue. It's not a moral issue, and you have every right to reject a woman whose body count is too high.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about all these stories in the comments. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed in the show today, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one. See you next
Chlamydia is the way forward.
See, chlamydia you next Tuesday.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.